when I was 16, I was chosen to be an exchange student to go to Canada on the Rotary Exchange program. And it was a huge culture shock. I came from a very different, very busy city. I was thrown in deep end in a sort of a farming and a dairying community where the people were very welcoming, but they never really had an Indian exchange student, and they didn't really understand anything about the country. And sort of as the adage goes, they've thought that we grew up with horses and elephants and cows and things like that on the street. So what I'd done is I had built like a carousel deck of slides about my home, about my family, about the city, about how we dressed, my previous school and everything. Every time I would end up in a Rotary meeting or I would end up in a school meeting where they would just look at me as this sort of strange Indian exchange student, I would pull out my deck, literally my carousel and my deck, and I would show them pictures of my home and things like that. And I felt like pictures were a great way of communicating as well, because whatever I said, because I was so far away, I was thousands and thousands of miles away, and many of them had never even visited my country. Many didn't even know where it was on the map, so I even had a map to show them exactly where I lived and where I was from. That it really helped. The picture painted like a whole life, a story that I would have never been able to communicate. I got back from Canada. My mother said to me again that you're not doing enough. Being a real ambassadoress of my country whilst I was in Canada, I decided to volunteer for a youth festival. This youth festival was called Malhar. It's a very famous youth festival and it's still ongoing. So my job was really trying to get 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and 19-year-olds who felt they were hugely talented and immensely important to actually participate in this youth festival. So I had another gentleman with me, another kid who now is super famous, so I won't name him. When I say my communication style had already developed as an 18, 19-year-old, there was this boy who had this immense ability to build humor into his communication. I also learned that one of the other ways of communicating effectively is to be fairly humorous and to add to lighten the load or lighten the room. Honest to God, that's also helped me as a lawyer. My mother again said to me that I think that you've taken acting and you've done all of this to a certain extent. You kind of made a backup plan. She had a law background. I said, oh yeah, law, because that's sort of like acting, isn't it? Obviously, law school was extremely humbling, because nobody gives you a script. We have this thing in law school called moot court. It's super enjoyable. It's super daunting for anybody who can't speak. It's even somebody who can speak, which I thought I was really good at, right? So you go into moot court where you're given a situation and a case. So you're sitting in front of the entire law school. You've got the judges who are sitting judges there. You've got my reputation, because obviously, my mother and my grandfather, etc., were lawyers, and everyone is like, oh yeah, she thinks, she's amazing, so let's just see how this goes. And you realize that your preparation is super, super important. Those people who weren't prepared, and I've fallen in that loop many times in moot court situations where I felt I was prepared, but maybe I took a few shortcuts. I was so stressed about the case histories that I was already talking about that I didn't go any deeper. And then the question that the judge picks up, or the issue that the moderator judge comes and asks me, is something that I haven't prepared. You don't understand the pressure of that. It's not like a situation on stage where you forget your lines and you have a teleprompter, you have somebody from the, in the wings actually shouting your lines at you. This is a situation where you freeze up and you freeze to death. You actually want the ground to open up and you want to die. And I've been in that situation. So the other thing I would say is, to be a good communicator, need to prepare.